y'all, this is Cyndee. I'm the Tireless Tangler. I want to welcome you back to my channel. Today is day 15, I want to say, because I got completely turned around last video, of the Inktober Tangles 2023 series. And today's tangle is called Scara. It is by Midori Furuhashi, and she is a CZT. And this is what it looks like in simple form. What I've discovered is it's early forms of Stella, basically, the Zentangle pattern Stella. And so I had some fun playing with it. I did this one on a gray tile and tried putting different things in between the elements. Here it is with Zinger. Here is with I Can This. I've got my flux fill in here, of course. Here is Prima and Hinadrum. Torn screen, and here in the middle I just tried all kinds of things. Amath or Amath, I still don't know. And here is some Muka. No idea what I would call that, but it's sort of like bailarine, but you just can't see the tips. Anyway, and we've done this one too, but the name escapes me off the top of my head. So anyway, lots of patterns, lots of things we can do with this. So as I was playing with it, get rid of these, I asked myself, well, many things, but one thing I was asking myself is what would happen if we joined those two in a Huggins type of a thing. And I actually liked that a lot, which is what made me realize this is actually Stella, because instead of joining that, Stella just puts a dot up here and joins in a point outside. So that may be why we haven't seen it on Tangle Patterns, or maybe Linda hasn't gotten to it yet. But anyway, I saw some potential in this, and so I had a little bit more fun than I probably should have. And so I want to reproduce this for you. And one of the things that, as I was practicing this, that I found was crucial was how we place these little round dots. So I'm going to show you what I came up with. I managed to make most of mine a little wider, so we'll see what happens. So I'm going to be working on a regular Zentangle tile today, and I am just going to try to get a center mark in here. That's not really center. So I'm just putting a light mark there with my pencil so I can sort of visualize the center on that. It's not a big deal. It's not necessary if you have a good visual eye. I recommend you use it since you know. So I'm going to start off, I'm going to be using both brown and black today. I'm going to start off with a black PN. There it is. PN stands for plastic nib, of course. And right there where my little pencil mark is, I'm going to put a decent size orb. Simply because I do like to put stuff in there and it makes it fun. Okay, so what you want to do now is we're going to put in 6 dots, and we're going to arrange them around this square as evenly as possible, but it's, you know, not the end of the world. And you can put these dots as close to the edge as you want to, because we won't be doing anything above them except for maybe an aura, so at least I will be. And so I'm going to put a small orb above and small orb below. And then we've got, there are 6 of these, so we've got 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock. So we need a 2 and a 4 and a 10 and a 8, or whatever they are, okay? So I'm going to put one not too close in, about 2, about 4. If you can get these placed decently, your life will be easier. And this one's going to be, now it's going to be again 2 and 4. See how I did that? All right. So this first part is going to use the cadence stroke, which is basically to take off on one side of this orb and to come down here and land on the other opposite side of this one. So starting on this side, ending on this side, right? Now normally when we do that cadent curve, we can get really curvy with that. But what I discovered is the less curve you put on here, the more room you're going to have to mess around on the inside of that. So I'm going to try to put as little curve in mine as possible, but you know, they necessarily have to have a little bit. But I'm just not going to go crazy with it, right? And so let's see if I can pull down a little bit easier. See, I usually get crazy with the curvy on cadent. And I'm not too worried about this. We're going to ink around that and all of that anyway, so, you know. Or at least, again, I am. So, again, taking off from one side. Landing down here. Taking off from one side. Trying to keep too much curve out of it. Of course, I don't want them to be really straight either, so just, you know, use caution. That's probably as curvy as you want to get. And now curvy is fine. Just understand that it will decrease the area you have to mess around with, okay? So my first tip for drawing this is to be conscious of where you put your next round of dots, okay? What you want to do is, if you want more area to play in, then in the step out it looks like the second dot is down here and then you're joining down here, and again, you can do that. But what I found is it's nice if you put a little bit of extra room and put it a little closer to the one to the back side, to the left side. Or if you're lefties, to the right side. Okay? Whoops. Hopefully I'm not in the frame again. And it's still on. Okay. So now we're going to put this next row of dots, and I'm going to make mine a little bit bigger and put them over here by this. Now this is going to make a difference in some other ways, and you'll see. But again, play around with it in your sketch pads or on a scratch sheet of paper and see what your preference is. Now this one's really wide, so I don't need to put it quite as far over. I am going to put it down a little bit lower than the original one, but that's just my preference. Again, your art, you decide. So I'm going to put this one right around here. And so I have left a really skinny area. So as in on this skinny area is this part right here, and what I'm doing is making this part even less apparent in this one. And again, I don't know how exactly it's going to turn out. We're going to discover it together, but I had so much fun playing around with this yesterday that, yeah, let's see what happens. Now, when on the step out, the next step is to join this right here, and you certainly can do it that way. What I found helped me with my spacing down towards the bottom, because what I ended up with was a lot of these little skinny, really skinny little things that made it really hard to, oh, Simba's moving, hold on. Okay, all right, you done? Attaboy. So what I was trying to avoid is having these really skinny ones like this, so I had a little bit more room down towards the bottom to play, right? So what I wanted to do was have a little more control of that arc right here. So I went ahead and drew my V's in next and then connected the tops, right? So basically, and you're going to want to do these from the inside, or work with me here. And see, and by approaching it this way, I can be very careful in how I shape that. So again, you don't have to care. You don't have to be careful. You can do it however you want to. I just found for me to get the results that pleased me, that's what I wanted to do and how I handled it. And you know, of course, you are welcome to have your own ideas. You guys are so much better at this than me. So many of you have such good ideas that I've seen both on Instagram and on Facebook in the group. And as always, if you guys want to join up for the Zenders group, I'll give you a hint. The answer to question 3 to get in is how the Zenders got their names, and that's because they watched to the end of the videos. Okay, so now we've got a bunch of stuff going on here. So when you have the V's, they're going to spread out like that. This is what you want to join. And there you can put your curve on, right? So again, the V's going opposite each other. This is where we're going to join. Boy, I just really need to wiggle right there, don't I? Well, at least it's wiggling in the exact same spot on each one of these. It's like clockwork. All right. It's a nice big thick one. And here. And one more. Like so. And see, so each one of these is nice and wide. It's got lots of space inside of it to put patterns or whatever you want to do. And and so I'm pretty pleased with the bottoms of these. And so I really can't complain about how this outline turned out. And this is your basic pattern. What you do from this point on is entirely up to you, or in this case, me. So I do like the join between these two. And again, if I were drawing Stella, there'd be a point up here and I would draw out to a point on each of these, which I guess I could do, but it sort of defeats the purpose. So I'm going to do what I did to begin with. And I'm just going to put a curved sort of Huggins join right here. And Huggins is the name of a pattern. And at some point we may pull that out. It's just a slightly curved line from the underneath side to the underneath side of those two things. And this is my deviation. This is not on the step out. But again, Zentangle encourages deviations and ideas and creativity. So if you have another idea that's different from mine, I absolutely salute you and tell you to enjoy trying it out. All right. So this is where I want to be at this point. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and ink in with hopefully a tiny little highlight. And on some of these where they don't quite meet up, you might have to ink in around it, but that's fine. And again, I like to leave a little crescent, but if you want to leave just a little round spot, you can certainly do that. Jelly rolls will also get you there if you just want to ink the whole thing. Entirely up to you. This is the way I like to do it. And just close up a little bit of that extra space. There. How is everybody? I was reading in comments yesterday, and I want to say hi to so many people. Darcy, hi. And I forget now what she asked. Goodness. I'm having brain mush. And I do appreciate all the different thoughts on short form videos and all that. I think we talked about that the last time. Gotten a few more. I am always wanting to hear what you guys think. I would like to know if somebody would go and at least give me an opinion. You don't have to buy anything. Go onto the merch shelf and look at the new Inktober Tangles shirt and see what you think of it. Look at it with an artist's eye or a consumer's eye, whichever eye you want to use, and let me know whether you think that's a good thing or if you'd rather have something else, or give me an objective opinion. My feelings will not be hurt if you want to see something different. And again, this is not asking anyone to purchase anything, but I know some of you really like to have commemorative shirts for the projects we do, so there you go. There's also a couple of utensil pouches there. And looky there, I'm done. So I'm going to put this, since I have enjoyed my results with torn screen a lot. Double check we're still on. I'm going to do that again in here, and I'm going to do it with a curve. So torn screen is just a thing where you're going to make little crosses and leave little gaps in them. So we're going to start with a sort of a curved grid, and when I get to this next step, I'm going to leave a gap like that. And this is a small area, so we don't have a lot of room to play. Then I'm going to turn my tile, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing and leave a gap in this same general area, but not exactly, so that it looks like a tear. I'm going to leave just sort of like that, so you've got a little hole in there. And I love the way that looks. That's just me. If you got a different idea, put a little tiny gem in there. That'll be cool, or a pearl. Okay, now I am going to switch from my PN to my 01 in brown. Nope, that's the PN. That's black. I got it right here. There we go. No, that's the 005. Come on. There you are, you sneaky little devil. Okay, so what I'm going to do in here is do some auras to begin with, and I'm using again a 01 in brown, and I'm going to use that to aura all of these rounded areas, these big V's that we made, right? And so I'm just going to start, I'm not going to aura around the top, I'm just going to bring an aura that comes down, and I will probably leave some gaps in it. If you wiggle, don't worry about leaving the gaps. They actually, when you get done, they actually look kind of cool. And if you can't quite get your lines to meet up, just go back and put some dots in the middles. It will look like variable line, if you can do the dots. It will look like variable line rate, and hopefully it won't cause too much troubles. All right, so again, hope everybody is enjoying their Sunday. Except it's Saturday for me. I sure did enjoy taking some time off yesterday. I was able to draw, and you know what, guys? You know what my goal was when we began this series for Inktober? Was to strengthen my muscle memory, or my muscles in my hands, to get smoother results. I've already noticed that my handwriting has improved, and which is a biggie. And I feel like I have a little bit more control over my pen strokes. I'm coming up with more and more results that please me, as opposed to the ones that I'm just tolerating. That's just honesty. Come on. Somebody said something about was it Annie? Who was it? Annie Sargent, I think, maybe, that was agreeing with me about that. Sandy Banks. And she was saying that, you know, that being in a place of acceptance, is that what you said? I can't remember. Again, brainy mush. I'm reading your comments. I just can't remember them 5 minutes after they're over. I'm just kidding. So these are just wimpy little teeny tiny auras to help me sort of stay where I need to be. That's actually what saved me with that I canvas, was remembering that if you aura things, it creates enough separation for you to work around it. So I think that's what really saved that tile for me. So doing auras for separation is a really good plan. Well, and if you're wiggling, don't fret. I'm about to give you something to do that's not going to matter about the wiggling, and you're gonna appreciate me for that, I know. Even when you make little oopses, don't sweat it. It's still gonna look great. That's what Annie was saying, that in the end, nobody notices the oopses but you. And that is very true. They're busy looking at the overall creation. They're not looking at it with a microscope going, "Oh my God, I can't believe she did that." That's not how people see art. It really isn't. If the artist has done their job, then people are focused on what you want them to focus on, and not your imperfections. And, you know, we can look at my art up close and say it's full of imperfections, and it certainly is. But I'm okay with it. All right. So now I'm going to switch, and if you don't have this 005, you can use your 01 just fine. I get an easier time of it with the smaller one. But what I'm going to do is what I did here, which is put a bunch of tiny little lines that are stuck up next to each other really, really densely. And so even for people with wiggling, this technique will work. Let me move this. So what I'm going to do, and push or pull, whatever way you feel like gives you the most, in my elbow pillow, whichever way you feel like gives you the most control over your pen, just push or pull, whichever that is, okay? So just take your time. What we're doing here is creating texture, right? These lines don't have to be perfect, they just have to be close to each other. And if you'll notice, mine are far from perfect, and they're certainly not straight at all. But the effect that we want is densely packed lines. They don't have to be perfectly packed. Okay. By doing this, I've created a lot of visual separation from the other parts, right? Maybe I can just put this one in here, and I won't have to put the other video or the other picture up, the end picture. I probably will. Something to think about. I'm making a big mess down here, but it's okay. It's going to be okay. All of this will be densely shaded with layers. Okay, so again, this is not perfect. But again, we're looking for dense lines, not for perfection. So try not to stress. And move on to the next one. I like this effect. I like the separation that it gives. The only thing I wish I could manage is to make this look like it's dipped in instead of pooched out. And I know that has to do with the shape of this line, but I'm not exactly sure how to fix that. So. And again, I am not sweating the wiggles. I just want these lines to be close to each other, wiggly or straight. They're so tiny that nobody is going to be looking at the individual lines. And wiggling lines that are close to each other might give you the same effect as somebody's pristine lines. Some of you are going to make pristine lines, and I love you for it. God bless. That will never ever be me. And coming to accept that I could not change the wiggles. Although we are going to be talking to the neurologist on Monday about that. That was an important place for me to get to. Instead of fighting against them, just understanding that they're a part of my art that I need to accept and move on. There. And the 005 helps me even further, although that's not very inked, is it? Not very dark. And again, so these lines are so small, you can go back in. And just stroke more in wherever you feel like it's blank or needs extra. And move on. Alternately, you can put some that are spread further apart and then add between them. It's just entirely up to you, whatever works for you. Or if you want to do something completely different in these spaces, do that. You'll just need to keep in mind that you'll want it to be something different enough from what's in the section next to you to create some kind of separation. We all need this to get away from the news that's happening in our world today. It's not getting any better, it's just getting worse. And when there are things happening in the world that we have no control over, that we cannot change no matter what we do, it is really important for us to care about those things and then let them go, because they will only cause us to be stressed out and upset. And that does no one any good. If we can't change what's happening, if we have no power over the situation, that is the time to let God be in control. And in order to keep our minds busy with more positive things, tangling is a great escape from the worries and cares of the real world. Not that tangling's not real world. I love my tangles. And that's where I started this whole conversation, was I am feeling so much better about art and drawing, and I'm just naturally having the desire to draw every day. So I'm finally out of my slump, which is excellent. And I guess we learned that drawing even when you don't want to might be very, very good for you. Okay, just two more. And like I said, you can make these bigger or smaller, these little sections, by where you place this second dot. So that's why I changed it up a little bit the way I did it. And of course you can do it however you wish. And the only thing I don't like about the 005 here, because I used a 01 on the other one, is that it's not quite as dark. But again, you can go over it and add as many lines in as you want for contouring or texture, just when you feel like it's had enough. This is just a matter of filling the space with little lines, whether they be straight or wiggly. They'll be effective for what we want, which is just a little bit of texture and a little bit of change from what's next to us. And we could just as easily have done that with a tangle. However, when the eye has got all kinds of images coming in, it's hard to know where to focus. And this is one of those things where you decide as the artist what you want your viewer to focus on, right? If you want them to focus on what you're going to put in these sections, then you don't want what's in the middle sections to be as dynamic, right? So again, you could do whatever you wanted in those, but it would need to be something that was less visually attractive to the eye as what you're putting in main in the sections. So at least that's my opinion. Remember, I am not an educated artist. I am mostly self-taught, and with Anie's help, I have figured out a few things. But yeah, this is this is advice from the blind. So, and that's not to diss anybody who is blind. I'm just saying that I may not know any more than anybody else, and just keep that in mind. I managed to get where I want to go, so with help. And I'm just trying to help you guys get where you want to go, wherever that might be. Give you the courage and the feeling that you can accomplish something, because as I have proven, you can. Yeah, I was in my late 50s when I started tangling and had a lot of health problems. Of course, I still have a lot of health problems, and now I'm in my early 60s. So, and the health problems haven't changed, but what's changed is my attitude. And so I find that one of the things that Zentangle is great at doing is futzing with your attitude. That whole no mistakes thing is pivotal, right? If you can learn to live that way in life, you'll be a much happier person. Opportunities to do things a different way comes in many, many different forms, not just in art, right? Okay, so I feel pretty good about those. I have some soluble pencils that I may put on this. But anyway, let's do some more inking. I'm going to get my 01 in brown back out. And I really loved the idea of the henna drum on top with the different tops. So I'm going to do that again. Of course, you can put any fill in here that you desire. Anything. Like I showed you on here, I put flux in there. I just put a standard grid pattern. I did some striping. I did bailarine. I did, one of our ribbon tangles. Really, any ribbon tangle you can think of will go in here. Or even some organic ones. Just stay inside of your little aura lines, right? Now you can see why that little bit of space is important, okay? So I'm going to go for my henna drum. You go for whatever you want to put in yours. And I will see you here in a second. Henna drum, if you've never done it, just starts with a half circle or a half orb and an aura around that. And then you can stipple like we did yesterday. Stippling is a way of shading with ink, right? You make it more densely packed where you want the darkest shade and less packed where you don't. Okay? Then Hinodrum starts with little lines. Knowing that you won't see the tops probably. And then I'm going to put the curly top on here, the original top. And you just do whatever you want to the edge of that. That is a creative opportunity for everybody to just do their thing. And there. And now if I have any space left over in the corners, I'm just going to ink those with this brown ink. Oops. There. And put in my little flower flicks. Oops. I like to pack mine on Hinodrum pretty thick. Just really depends on the pattern. You, again, are free to do whatever you want. That's the fun of art. Then I'm going to finish this off with a little wiggly aura. Again, for separation for what's going to happen down here, whatever I decide that might be. And put them in until I'm done. Have orb and an aura. Put your little petal definers up. Put your little wiggly edge on, or whatever end you want. This tile is especially for us who tangle with trimmers, because there is lots of trimmer-friendly tangling going on here. So what's great about this pattern is that it's just a lot of fun to experiment with and fill and make pretty, and I like tangles like that. It's probably not on Tangle Patterns because of its similarity to Stella. I don't know, but it doesn't really matter. If we're enjoying it, that's what's important. Okay. Adding my stippling. This is a nice big one. And that's uneven, but that's okay. All right. Okay. And then the wiggly tops. Yeah. Alright, so I'm not going to bother with that. So I'll just put in my little brown here. And then start my aura. Boy, I made these ends a little bit difficult to aura, didn't I? And of course, this aura doesn't have to be exact. All you need is a little bit of, a little bit of space. In fact, this one is not even close to exact. Close enough. Okay. And then oops. Okay. Those are pretty. I like it. Oops, I forgot my aura over here. That's why that looked so nice. Alright. Why am I putting these in on this one when I didn't on any of the others? I guess I'll be adding that, won't I? I think I forgot what I was doing. Had some problems with these. But we got it. Oops. All right. I didn't think that through very well, but that's okay. Okay. Sure hope my head hasn't been in this frame all this time. First you think you're going to give the camera angle right, and then you never do again. It happens. It happens. All right. A little bit more. If you have room for the aura, put it in over there on the sides. If you don't, just ink without it and don't worry about it. At least that's what I'm going to do. Okay, that'll do. And let's get the insides all finished up. We'll have some fun with color. Not much, but a little bit. I don't know what the odds are on hitting the exact same dot over and over again accidentally, but probably pretty high. Welcome to my world. I must truly be gifted. Unfortunately, I don't like being that gifted. Alright, finish this guy up. Okay. Alright. Just one more. See how many of these dots I can get exactly again. Stop it, stop it. Clearly that's not my goal. Alright, I guess I can live with that. And put a few extra over here since that's a little lighter than the others. That was before I got explosively crazy with this pen. Alright. Now at this juncture, I have a couple of options that I can do. I can shade with regular graphite. Here's my other one, which I mostly did here. I just used regular graphite in all of these spots, and then I added ink to this. And I can use my brown Identi-pen since I don't have a brush pen or anything that's exactly right. And I think I have an example of what they look like that I did on the back of something. Oh, yeah, here. So this is what the Identi-pen looks like. And so that would be a decent color to fill in where this purple is. But I also have this chalk pastel in burnt sienna that I have over here, which is a really nice color that could be used to enhance, like in here, and make it more brown than gray, right? And that's a nice, and of course that's blendable with your tortillon. And if you don't have chalk pastels, use a colored pencil or something like that. Anyway, so that's one option. Another option that I have is this color tint from Spectrum Noir, and it's in rust. And the nice thing about these is that they're water soluble, so it's about the same color, just a little bit more red in there. That's still a reddish brown. And when you mix this with color, which I clearly forgot to bring my brush, it's going to dissolve into the paper. And so I'm trying to decide as I sit here. Let me get my tortillon. That's a really nice color choice in there. So give me just a second. I'm going to get my paintbrush and I'll be right back. I'm going to use my Rust Color Tint pencil, which is a water soluble pencil, and I'm going to fill in all of these spots here, and then I'll go over them with a damp brush and sort of work them into the tooth. That's the only what I perceive as con or negative quality that pastel pencils, chalk pastel pencils have, is that they can be rubbed off and they fade really quickly, and you have to go over them again and again. And of course you can use the workable Fix-It spray if you want, but that can be problematic. So I'm just gonna open my little handy, hopefully bed safe jar of water here real quick, and just dip my paintbrush in and just really gently sort of dampen that, push the color around, sort of get it down into the folds. And I really wanted this nice sort of rusty red color in here because what I decided to do underneath my flowers is to use a pink micron. Boy, my brain is not here. So that's what I'm gonna do in these little areas where we put all the little micro pen lines. And so what I'm gonna do is I have a 01 in pink, and I have a pink brush pen. I also have a PN. So I'm not sure. I'm going to start with the 01 in all of the tiny crevices, and then we'll see how the color matches. But the reason I don't want to use a small nib for filling this in is because the color is hard to get even without streaking. Now I may be wrong because this is nice and juicy. Ooh, I'm going to have to fix that. Hello, Jelly Roll. I hardly knew you. All right, and so I'm just going to sort of do an outline Well, if I can stop shaking. Time for me to eat. It's always worse when I'm hungry. I'm just going to do a little outline right here on the wobbly little Ara line that we did earlier with our brown pen. And this is why I don't want to do the fill with this little 01 is I can get the edges pretty good and then go over them a couple of times, but I'll never get the color that I'll get with the brush pen. So, but the problem with brush pens is it's really hard to get into areas like this without getting into trouble. So what I'm going to do is just do all my close-in work with my 01, or if that stops working well, I'll get my PN, but that's still a little large for what we're doing here. And I may come down here and sort of pinken this brown that I filled in over here. But I like pinks and browns. I think that color combination is cool, so. All right. And I want to point out that any of what I'm doing can be done with colored pencils, water-soluble markers, anything you want to use, right? Oh, this is the pen. Let's try the brush pen and see how much trouble we can stay out of. And I might have to touch up some of my edges with my jelly roll. That'll be fine. Shaking with one of these is problematic, so I use them with constraint. I always try to put myself in a safe area where I can't do too much harm. But I'll get a much more even fill with a brush pen than I will with a small nibbed pen. You can also use, markers like Tombows or even cheap ones or Arteza or whatever you've got. So I think that's going to be really pretty together. So I'm just going to continue to do that. And I think for my shading, I'm going to use this rust pencil and just work that out with a little bit of water. We're going to see how it turns out, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this one. I hope you have as much fun with this pattern as I have. And I am going to see you tomorrow for day maybe 16, I think, possibly. We'll find out. All right, I'll see you then. Bye.